City of Battle Creek, Michigan, and our Battle Creek City Commission meeting for October 18th, 2022. It is 7 o'clock. We're going to have a moment of silence first, and we're going to call upon Commissioner Jim Lance to lead us in the pledge. We want to welcome back our city manager. It's good to see you. We missed you a lot. And then also, I've been asked to announce that if you're at home, if you'd like to come down and vote, the city clerk's office is going to be open to the end of the meeting, which I'm predicting will be about 7:45. So you have your chance to come down and vote. There is someone in the city clerk's office, and we encourage you to do that. Please stand for a moment of silence, and then our pledge. Commissioner Lance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next item on our agenda will be the roll call. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Commissioner Blood?
Present.
Commissioner Gray?
Present.
Commissioner Herring?
Present.
Commissioner Lance?
Here.
Mayor Banky?
Here.
Commissioner Morris?
Here.
Vice Mayor Reynolds?
Present.
Commissioner Sophia?
Here.
And Commissioner Zenda Wilson?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone attending. And we'll have two proclamations to present today. The first one will be Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I believe I'll be presenting that one. And the second one will be presented by the Vice Mayor for a proclamation for Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Other way around? Okay, other way around. All right. So I'll let the Vice Mayor go first.
Proclamation. Whereas anyone can become a victim of domestic violence, regardless of the age, sex, ability, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, social economic status, or religion. And whereas on the average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States, the equivalent of more than 10,000 individuals per year. The economic cost of intimate partner violence alone exceeds $8.3 million per year. And whereas between 21 and 60% of victims of intimate partners violence lose their jobs due to reasons stemming from the abuse. And whereas 1 in 15 children are exposed to the intimate partner violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to this violence. Studies suggest that there is a relationship between intimate partner violence, depression, and suicidal behavior. And whereas a study of intimate partner homicides found that 20% of the victims were not in the intimate partners themselves, but family members, friends, neighbors, persons of intervene, law enforcement, responders, and bystanders. Every member of our community can play a role in preventing domestic violence. Observing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity to increase awareness of domestic violence, and therefore empower the community to prevent domestic violence and take meaningful action to break the cycle of the abuse. Domestic Violence Awareness Month is also a yearly reminder of the impact of organizations like Safe Place in the county, Calhoun County, to provide critical and confidential services such as free legal advocacy, counseling, support groups, emergency shelters for victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence and their dependent children. And there now, I, Carla Reynolds, Vice Mayor of the City of Battle Creek, Michigan, do hereby proclaim the month, October 20 of 22, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in the greater Battle Creek area, and urge all citizens of Battle Creek to do their part to end domestic violence in the county by working together and supporting our community efforts to assist victims in finding help that they need and to ensure that no victims of domestic violence ever has to struggle alone.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Ellen Laster Collier. I have the privilege of serving as the CEO for Safe Place, and we're very honored to be here tonight. Here in the county, we serve over 2,600 individuals every year and are honored to be recognized for that work and providing safety for all who may need it. So thank you.
Is there anyone from the Cancer Awareness Organization here? All right. Please allow me to read the proclamation. Whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death amongst men and women in the United States, accounting for more deaths than colon cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer combined. And whereas the 5-year survival rate for localized lung cancer is roughly 60%, yet only around 20% of lung cancers are diagnosed at this stage. And whereas lung cancer incidence is decreasing twice as fast in men as it is in women, each year more women die from lung cancer than breast cancer, and by 2035, more women will die from lung cancer than men. And whereas African American people have the highest lung cancer incidence and mortality of all races, and disparities in lung cancer screening, diagnosis, treatment, and mortality are well characterized amongst BIPOC groups. And whereas lung cancer in individuals who've never smoked is 7% leading cause of cancer-related death and accounts for 17,000 to 26,000 deaths in the U.S. every year. 60 to 70% of individuals diagnosed with lung cancer who never smoked are women. And the proportion of lung cancer diagnosed in people who have never smoked is increasing in the United States. Whereas randon is the leading cause of lung cancer amongst individuals who have never smoked and the second leading cause of lung cancer overall. And whereas organizations in the United States, such as the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative and Women's Lung Cancer Forum, are committed to educating about lung cancer and lung cancer screening and working to increase lung cancer screening rates across the United States. Therefore, on behalf of the citizens of the City of Battle Creek, we do hereby proclaim the month of 2022 is Lung Cancer Awareness Month in the greater Battle Creek area, and we encourage all citizens to learn about lung cancer and early detection through lung cancer screening and to pursue preventive health practices and early detection efforts throughout the year. Once again, we encourage everyone to find out more about this proclamation, and we thank the organizations that brought this to our attention. Please have a good day, and we'll continue the rest of our meeting. Next item on our agenda is presentations. Madam City Clerk Manager, would you please take over?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to welcome Jessica Vanderkolk, our Communications Manager, to a meeting to come and talk to you about all of the many things that she and her team of two do for the city, and she touches about everything that we do. Very honored to have her as part of the city manager's office. As I'll say it again, communications touches everything that we do, not only in the city manager's office, but all the services we provide in every department. So it's always exciting to get an update from Jessica and her team.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Nice to see you. It's been a while. Okay, so I will try to move fairly quickly and stay high level. There's a little more detail in the slides, and you can check that out. I don't think I have presented in front of this commission before. So for those who don't know, I've been with the city almost 9 years now. I'm a former newspaper reporter. That was my first career. I am active on several boards in the community and personally with Lakeview Schools, where my son attends. And I try to stay really active with industry groups, both for local government and communications. I just got back a couple days ago from Phoenix with a local government conference, and I will be at the MML convention tomorrow presenting on social media. I also wanted to take the chance to introduce you to our very new communications specialist, Eric McClure. He's been with us since late August, so I will let him introduce himself real quick.
Good evening. As Jessica said, my name is Eric McClure. I'm the new communications specialist here with the city. It's an honor to work alongside Jessica and the others in the city manager office and in the city offices here in Battle Creek. I'm from Athens, just about 15 minutes south of Battle Creek. That's where I grew up and was raised and where I currently live. Outside of work, I'm involved in the community of Athens through the school board. I sit on the school board. I also am involved in the community foundation and the historical society as well. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for letting me share in your presentation, Jessica.
Wonderful. So let's jump right in. These are our social media channels. For those unfamiliar with the logos, that's Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. They all have different purposes. They all have different levels of engagement. Some highlights that I'll pick out for you here. Facebook and Nextdoor are our very high engagement platforms, and they're very similar, except that Nextdoor really lets us target people by neighborhood. So if there is a water main break on a particular street and there's water shut off on adjacent streets, I can give that information to just that neighborhood. All of our platforms since 2020, I'm going back since I haven't been with you for a while, have increased in our followers and our viewership. Twitter is the only one that's remained pretty flat. That's not really surprising because most of our engagement on Twitter is with our local and regional media. We don't have as much community engagement on that platform. YouTube has been the big standout for increase, which is also not surprising since starting in 2020, we went very video heavy, and we still are now. Yes, and we'll stop there. Just to talk generally about some of the things that get people the most engaged on social media, it's a lot of local neighborhood level topics, which is great. And I'm happy to see that, and it's something we might expect. On Facebook, for example, and all of these top posts are over the last year or so. The stop signs that went in and then came out at Territorial and 28th Street was very high engagement. Boil water advisories are very high engagement. Let's see. Very local things like the snow emergency and spring cleanup, those local things that impact the entire city. I thought the top 3 videos on YouTube were kind of interesting. Years ago now, I'm not even sure what year it was, 2017 maybe? 2016, we did a virtual tour of all the fire stations, and Fire Station 1 has been our top video for a long time. I think people just like those behind the scenes looks at those types of things. When I do a top 10 and a top 20, the other fire stations are in there too, and as well as the police station. And also our police department press conferences are very popular, and also the special units promotion video that PD did. On LinkedIn, this is an opportunity for growth for us. That's not a platform that we used as often, but we do get on there for job postings, and we also got a very high engagement on posting for International Women's Day last March. I wanted to talk through just some of the things that we're doing. A brand new thing, thank you to our Geographic Information Systems, our GIS team that works with us in IT. They found an app in our mapping system that we use that is specific to road closures. And now the streets marked are very faint on this because it wasn't active at the time, and so I couldn't get the right screenshot. But what it's showing is when we have a road closure, we're able to show that now that the actual closed road will be red with do not enter signs on the map, and then we'll be able to show the suggested or posted detour in kind of a yellowish color going around that. That helps meet a goal that Public Works has had with us to make sure that they are figuring out good detours and that we are able to share that out with the community. And so I list on this slide where you can find our mapping application. It's on our GIS section of our website with the other maps that we offer to the community. I also wanted to touch on the relationships that we've been building with our Latinx and Burmese neighbors through our relationships in particular with the Burma Center and VOSES. They have been excellent to work with as we've worked harder to engage those communities in the events that we do. You know that we've worked on town halls specifically with them so we can do more live interpretation and translation of materials so that we can make sure we're involving as many people as we can. Our surveys, the image on this slide is from our national community survey that we've just done. We just got the results back. I was skimming through them today, so those will be coming soon to the entire community. But we translated it into Spanish and Burmese, and we try to do that with as many of our surveys as possible now. And also with our social media, you'll see we post at least bilingually on a lot of things and trilingually as much as we can as well, especially for events. This is always something that we can do better on and figure out more and better ways to do it. So I'm very eager when we get going on our diversity, equity, inclusion officer process again to work with that person and figure out a really good, solid, standardized plan for doing this more in our communications. I did want to touch on messaging in a pandemic for a moment. I am still part of the countywide COVID-19 community response. I'm on the Public Information Officer team with Lucy Blair from the county and Victor Jovanovich from the Public Health Department. We still meet, we're still doing messaging. Certainly it's not as often, but we did do a live informational update at the end of September when the bivalent vaccine became available. So we're still trying to make sure we get information out there. I mentioned our video engagement. We have been fortunate to have AccessVision working with us. We've been able to put COVID videos out on AccessVision. Certainly, they're here tonight, broadcasting the City Commission meeting too. We've still got all our other public meetings on live streaming as well, and we've done a lot more videos for sharing information. The other things we've done is just try to get as many online and traditional forms of communication out there as possible. Flyers, the QR code has made quite the comeback during the pandemic. The one you see on the screen will take you to a short survey for the newsletter that we've put out to the community in 2022 in the Battle Creek Shopper News. That was kind of an experiment we tried to see how that would go over, and now we're looking for everybody's feedback about whether they're reading it and whether it's got the information that they want to see. Some other highlights of places where we are putting information. Our website, of course, there are tons of news items on there, forms and surveys to fill out, all our department information, our meeting agendas. We do have a city blog for longer form information, and there are a lot of things you can sign up for under the Notify Me section to get notifications about. Textedly was our new opt-in by text informational program we launched at the beginning of the year, and people can get COVID-19 information, city news, and also alerts, so we're using that. We do monthly updates in Scene Magazine and the Battle Creek Shopper News in addition to the quarterly newsletter that we've been putting in. So those are informational roundups. You'll see a lot of Halloween information this month. And then of course Mayor Benke has started his weekly Mayor's Report as a video that we're able to put out and get different traffic and different viewership that way to promote the city news and information that we have going on. Quick roundup of additional things to know about what we're doing. We do still engage a communications team across the organization. We haven't met much since the start of the pandemic, but we still do a lot of brainstorming, sharing ideas, and working through social media content. I have a great team of people who manage a lot of the departmental Facebook pages in particular. We do a lot of internal messaging. We do have a team newsletter, new processes that we're working on for better efficiencies, and I love to profile our employees. We've done some in the last year for Public Works Week and Police Week. We did the water quality report for the first time in-house this year. That was quite a process, but I anticipate we'll do it again. It turned out really nice, and hopefully everybody was able to find more interesting local information in that this year, since we were in full control of the content beyond what's required. Still love working hard promoting Battle Creek across the state and across the nation through the industry groups that I'm a part of. I'm really excited to talk about our social media tomorrow, and in particular next door. And then we have a lot more to come, as always. A lot of plan updates, both emergency plans and strategy plans, to make sure our messaging is where it needs to be. Something we want to do for the city commission meetings is to round up what is on the agenda, and then after the meeting, what happened at the meeting, just so that, you know, this is a business meeting, and so it helps people understand better what is going on. We've talked about doing a podcast under the BC City Connection brand. I'm not sure about that one. We're going to look at survey results. We did ask in the National Community Survey about how people get their news and information from the city, so I'm hoping that's going to inform whether we move forward with that one. And then always continuing to look at community engagement. I've been involved with our community development team in making sure that we're doing that the best we can to get everybody involved. And I will stop there and entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions for Jessica? Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jessica. This is really helpful. I do have one question. So I'm really, really glad of the progress we've made around language access on a lot of the materials we're putting out there. If I were somebody who is non-English speaking and I called City Hall, though, is there support for them when that happens, and what does that look like?
There is. We had set up several years ago a phone interpretation service. I believe it's in conjunction with VOCES, but it is through a third party that they use for that purpose. So if somebody calls and our person who has answered the phone realizes that they are not an English-speaking person, they can call that number and it conferences somebody in. And if it's not something that they can address right there on that phone call, they're able to make an appointment to have an interpretation phone call, or if it is something more complicated that might work better in person, then they're able to set that up as well.
Thank you. And do folks in the community know about that? Is that something that is shared broadly?
We have talked about it. I'm not sure we share it enough.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions of Jessica? Jessica, I just want to say thank you for everything you do, especially the press conferences for the police department. I think those are very highly watched.
Thank you.
Are they ranking very high?
They do, yes. The press conferences do rank highly.
Okay. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is chair noting any added or deleted resolutions.
There were none.
Thank you very much. Petitions, communications, and reports.
There were none.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is introduction of ordinance 10-2022. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The proposed ordinance amendment includes three components. The current meeting rules do not distinguish between an individual making traditional public comment and an applicant who has a right to appeal a final decision of the City Commission. Applicants are traditionally not strictly limited to 3 minutes to present their case, but that rule has not been formalized in the ordinances. If passed, the proposed amendment would add subsection F to make that distinction. Applicants would still be obligated to comply with the other rules, including but not limited to speaking on topic and not being repetitive. The proposed amendment would also add subsection 5 as a safety measure to prohibit members of the public from stepping past the podium into the well of the chambers to prevent approaching the dais without having been invited by the mayor or whomever is presiding at the meeting or requesting and being granted permission to approach. Lastly, the proposed amendment would revise how frequently the Ethics and Meeting Rules Committee must meet. This proposed ordinance would amend Section 02, Article XV11 of Chapter 212, Rules of Procedure of the Commission, to distinguish applicant comments and to impose a safety provision, and Section 05 of Chapter 212, to amend the meeting requirements of the Ethics and Meeting Rules Committee.
I move for the introduction of ordinance 10-2022.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to introduce the ordinance 10-22, 2022. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, John.
Just an off-the-wall question in regards to this one. Supposing somebody stood up here and wanted to serve the commissioners with a subpoena, which is their job, would this ordinance prevent them from doing that, even though they're carrying out their public service of serving subpoenas? It kind of sounds like that's what you don't want people to do. I just want to confirm that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments? Are there any commission comments? Seeing none, would you please vote on the, oops,
I was
Commissioner
waiting
Blood.
to see if
Sorry.
you, yes, thank you. So I'm a little concerned about the way in which this ordinance is written. The stanchions that would block access to us, I know I only sit here for another month. However, the optics that we're sending when we put stanchions across and block people from having access to us just sends a very unapproachable message. And there are some things like this dais that are archaic, right? This is something that was set up for power. It's a power situation. And I understand that. However, being in line and equal to the people that we serve is very important. And I would hope, as a commission, whomever is sitting on this table platform considers that moving forward and considers having open availability. I know there have been some things that have happened, especially recently, that weren't okay, and someone made a poor choice. I don't want to penalize the majority of our residents and our people that come to these meetings because of one person making a poor decision. And based on how this is written tonight, I'm going to vote no. It's not that it can't come back. I just feel there's perhaps a little bit more we can do than rushing to a decision based on one faulty incident. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commission comments at this time? Seeing none, would you please vote on the introduction of ordinance 10-2022? Ordinance 10-22 has been introduced. Next item on our agenda is 11-2022. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Vice Mayor Reynolds, supported by Commissioners Gray and Herring, requested that Chapters 833 and 835 regulating medical marijuana and adult recreational marijuana facilities be amended to expand the permissible hours of operation. The ordinance currently prohibits these facilities to operate between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. This amendment, if approved, allows the business to operate until midnight. This proposed ordinance, number 11-2022, would amend Chapters 833, medical marijuana facilities, and 835, adult use marijuana establishments, to expand the hours of operation, update definitions, and make additional clarifications.
I move for the introduction of ordinance 11-2022.
Support.
So moved and supported to introduce 11-2022, a new ordinance. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, John?
John Kinnevic, 234 South Avenue. I'll be very brief. Quite a long time ago, not that long ago, excuse me, the City Commission approved the recreational and medical marijuana facilities. They described the hours, that they could not exist beyond 9 o'clock. There was also a lot of other things in there as far as cameras and how it was to be set up and like that. And back then, when I was reading all the particulars and specifics of how the ordinance or this regulation in regards to marijuana was concerned, it occurred to me that it didn't sound like these were simple businesses. It sounded like the government was telling these businesses what to do and how they would operate and what time frames they were operating on. Now, what confused me is I don't see where the City Commission has any really ability to tell anybody anything as far as their hours. This is a private sector area. It'd be like the commission saying, Meyer 50 acres, you can open up to certain hours and only the hours we tell you to. How about family fare? You want to tell them? How about pharmacies? They do all kinds of interesting drugs. You want to tell them when they can operate, or do they decide that? Have you decided to regulate that too? Now, I have nothing against them going to midnight. Like I said, there's no problem there. I just find it's very interesting how controlling the government of Battle Creek is and what this situation is, this commission. They're there, they're in the private sector. You tax them $5,000 a year, which goes into the cost of their products to pay you. You don't reduce the costs of the taxpayers that could alleviate those costs by that money coming in. You keep it for yourselves. And as far as the person that stood before me talking about a business and the government of Battle Creek, and this is the business of the city government of Battle Creek and the commission, if the city of Battle Creek government was a business, you'd be in bankruptcy probably about 60 years ago. The only thing propping you up is all the taxes and games you play. So I have no problem with this. I wish them well. It works to my advantage. Not that I do any marijuana or anything of that nature. It just makes people easier for me to deal with things when they may not be aware of them, whether they be having a beer after work or doing recreational marijuana. They may not be aware of what's going around. I don't tend to do those things, but I'm still in favor of what they do as a business. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Latasha Potter, and I am the owner of Kennevice Emporium. I just want to thank everyone for considering this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to the Vice Mayor and sharing your concern. We appreciate that. Any other public comments? Hearing none, Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The reason for this ordinance is because the people that operate the facilities here in the city of Battle Creek close at 9. They lose business because they're going out to Emmett Township where they're open from 11 to 12. So it's not right if they're not able to continue their business because they're actually losing money after 9 o'clock. So they reached out to me and I thought that, you know, why not? If the townships are opening until 11 or 12, why can't we give them the same consideration? So I just thought that that was appropriate.
Any other commission comments? Commissioner Lenore Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I too was contacted by the owners and was 100% in support to level the playing field in the city of Battle Creek and surrounding areas when it comes to doing business. And so I will be supporting this as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commission comments? Commissioner Bonica, hearing.
Thank you, sir. I am also in support of this. As they said, leveling the playing field and making sure that our city is served at the equal opportunity is important to me. So thank you for reaching out to us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commission comments? Seeing none, would you please vote on 11-22? Ordinance 11-2022 has been introduced. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Ordinance 12-2022. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The city adopted an ordinance on March 6, 1979 to establish the City of Battle Creek Downtown Development Authority and designate the boundaries of the authority's development area. The plan has been amended several times over the years, including removing land from the boundaries. Pursuant to Part 2 of Act 57, the Downtown Development Authority prepared and reviewed, and by resolution adopted August 22, 2022, approved, recommended, and submitted an amendment to the plan to the City Commission in order to amend the projects it intends to undertake. This proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 276 Downtown Development Authority in compliance with Public Act 57 of 2018, the Recodified Tax Increment Financing Act, to approve amendment to the Tax Increment Financing and Development Plan of the City of Battle Creek Downtown Development Authority.
I move for the introduction of ordinance 12-2022.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve the ordinance introduction of 12-2022. Are there any public comments at this time? Not seeing any public comments, we'll move to City Commission comments. Any City Commission comments? Commissioner Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to call on Assistant City Manager Deering, as there were several questions that were raised before, and I just wanted to see if you could provide any follow-up to those, particularly the one around the mail, and if any additional research has come from that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Commissioner. And fortunately, if you recall from our meeting 2 weeks ago, too, that we had some folks particularly from the north end of Goldblack Lake, who came and shared some comments about the draft plan amendment. And fortunately, they gave us a kind of a written list of questions to respond to, as well as raised a few issues during the meeting itself. And so we did prepare a kind of a comprehensive 3-page response to the issues that were raised. I believe I shared that with the Commission independently before sending it to a list of email addresses that I had from the DACC process. So we had collected email addresses from folks living in that area of the community so we could communicate more about this plan going forward. So we did send a list of our responses to that group. I've had some communication with them since then. I think they were thankful for the information that was provided. We did make a few modifications to the plan to reflect the information that was shared with us and to clarify a few things that we thought were probably a little misleading or hard to interpret in the plan. And I think those align well with what the folks on the north end of the lake were thinking in terms of how they wanted to see the plan develop. So, and then back to your question about communicating with people too. So, obviously throughout this process, we've tried very consciously to communicate. We went through the DACC process so that we could include those folks not only on a committee to review the plan, but to provide for public meetings when individuals could come and speak too. We had a challenge for whatever reason when we sent the most recent mailing out of the public notice to specific condos that are on Wawinork. And we had a little trouble figuring out why that particular communication was not delivered to 115 and 125 Wawinork, because we had previously mailed a communication out to everybody living with a principal residence within the authority to recruit for the DACC. And for whatever reason, the address database that we had, the post office did not deliver the public notice mailing that we sent out. And so we did go back and forth with the post office a little bit to try to figure out what the problem was. We did eventually come up with a database from our utility billing database that we could use to hopefully accurately send a notice to the folks on Wawinork. And what we did, because fortunately we held the public hearing and then delayed the introduction of the ordinance until this evening, that gave us a chance to send a second notice to them to say, hey, here's what's going on with the project, and if you're interested in making comment, you would have an opportunity to do that this evening. So we regret that we missed them on the public notice, not quite sure how that happened, but we did send a separate notice so that they would be aware of tonight's proceedings.
Thank you so much for that summary.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Ted, for all that hard work. Are there any other public comments? Commissioner Blood.
Thank you, sir. To follow up on Commissioner Gray's question, is there a way we can make that response, Ted, that you said you emailed out to the select few you had emails access to? Is there a way we can make that available online for those who maybe perhaps you don't have emails to, that live in that area, that can have access to that information prior to, I know today's the introduction, but prior to adoption, so they can, you know, just have access to it?
Yes, I believe we certainly can, Commissioner. We've got the full plan posted on the city's website, so we'll just add this along with that information so that anybody who's interested in seeing those specific responses can see them.
I think that would be great, especially if they're sitting here going, wait, I didn't get an email. I think that would just aid in the transparency and open communication with the folks that live in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Ted. Are there any other commission comments at this time? Seeing none, would you please vote in the introduction of 12-2022? Let's see, proposed ordinance 12-2022 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment regarding consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. If you'd like to make public comment regarding the consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda, please raise your hand and we will call upon you to come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. Please state your name and address before beginning your comment and indicate which resolution you are speaking to. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, Kathy.
Thank you. Kathy Antea. I live on Park Ridge Drive in Battle Creek. Happy fall to all. Welcome back, Rebecca. Delighted to see you back. I'm here in regards to Resolution 513 and 514. I want to applaud the city's efforts in renewing the NPC system that we previously have had in place. I'm really excited about it, and I've done a lot of a lot of promotion for the NPCs, all of the ones that are currently active or that are trying to be active. There was a really nice ad that Chris Lucier and the city put in the Shopper News, and I made photocopies of that, and I've been handing those out. And in doing that, thank you for a concise ad like that, but in doing so, I've run into some neighbors in downtown Battle Creek, and they don't apparently have an NPC that may cover them. Perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps I don't understand how the boundary is exactly written, but I was wondering if we would look into that, since it's been a couple of years since NPCs have met, but thanks to COVID, but perhaps someone could look into that. There's a number of residents beyond just the Milton as well. So thank you all. Be well, be safe.
Thank you. We will have someone get back to you on that. Are there any other public comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Commission comment regarding meeting business?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda.
There's a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I may, sir. So just so you know, the downtown residents have been welcomed into the MPC 4 meetings, and when we've already talked to Chris Lucier and the community development team, and when they have enough people, their own NPC will be established, but for now they are invited to the Neighborhood Planning Council 4.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sophia?
Now I move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Support.
We have approval of the consent agenda and support. Are there any questions by the commission?
I just have a comment. Yeah, so I want to say thank you, Kathy, for bringing that up. I applaud the city for getting these going, for staff who have been making the MPC's attendance a priority. I am happy to say that I've been back to our MPC twice. We're not having formal meetings, but we're going through the motions to get back into the groove of things. And I appreciate all the work our NPC chair has been doing to get us going. So I just wanted to lift you up because you've been doing great work and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other comments? Please vote on the consent agenda then.
I locked myself out.
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Thank you.
The consent agenda has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 516.
Public Act 152 of 2011, known as the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, sets forth requirements for local units of government regarding the amount of public funds that can be used toward the cost of medical insurance benefits for public employees. Those options are 80/20 and hard cap. The 80/20 provision has been included in the city's collective bargaining agreements. Therefore, it has been proposed to continue to comply with the requirements of Public Act 152 by adopting the 80/20 plan or option for the plan year. This resolution proposes to comply with the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011 by exercising the city's right to implement the 80/20 requirement of the Act for the plan year ending December 31, 2023.
I move for the approval of Resolution 516.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 516. Are there any commission comments? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 516?
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 516 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 517. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The city has an obligation under its collective bargaining agreements and personnel policies to provide its employees, retirees, and eligible dependents access to dental coverage. This resolution proposes to authorize the city manager to renew the city's group dental plan with Delta Dental, the city's current provider, for the January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023 plan year at an estimated cost of $403,090.
I move for the approval of Resolution 517.
Support.
So moved and supported to approve Resolution 517. Are there any commission comments at this time? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 517?
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 517 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 518. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has been the authorized healthcare organization for city employees and retirees for several years. Based upon a thorough review of coverage and experience by city staff and consultants from Gallagher Benefit Services, it is in the best interest of the city to continue this service agreement and renew all lines of coverage for 2023. The city has an obligation under collective bargaining agreements and personnel policies to provide its employees with options for health care coverage. This resolution proposes to authorize the city manager to renew various self-funded health care plans with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and Blue Care Network and related administrative services contract for plan year January 1, 2023 to December 31, 2023. This amount is estimated to be $8,001,212, not including employee premium share.
I move for the approval of Resolution 518.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 518. Are there any commission comments on this resolution? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 518?
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 518 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 519.
Consistent with the amended charter provision 2.4, the City Commission is elected at the 2022 general election. The County Canvassing Board must have the election results to the State Canvassing Board no later than November 23rd. However, the State Canvassing Board will not certify the election results until Monday, November 28th. City of Battle Creek Charter, Section 2.9, provides that the organizational meeting occurs after the canvass of the general election. Since the election results will not be certified until November 28, 2022, the organizational meeting cannot take place on November 22, 2022, as is currently scheduled. In order to avoid the cost of a special meeting and setting it for November 29, 2022, the organizational meeting will take place on December 6, 2022, the first Tuesday in December, with the regular meeting taking place at the conclusion of the organizational meeting. This resolution seeks approval to amend the 2021-2022 Commission meeting schedule adopted in Resolution 248 on November 2, 2021, to allow time for certification of the 2022 election results.
I move for the approval of Resolution 519.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 519. Are there any commission comments at this time? Seeing none, please vote on Resolution 519.
Commissioner Lance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 519 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is general public comment. It's limited to 3 minutes. If you'd like to make general public comment regarding matters over which the City Commission has control, please raise your hand and wait for us to acknowledge you, and then come forward to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. Please state your name and address prior to making your comment. Are there, yes, sir.
Baker, 241 Orleans Avenue. I believe that whoever is responsible on the commission for the contract with Republic Waste needs to have a conversation with them. My waste was out in front of my house from August 5th until last Friday. I've had numerous conversations with them. I finally got everything picked up, but this is the second time in 10 months. They're very, very unresponsive. And like I said, I don't know who is responsible for them to answer to, but they need to answer to somebody. If there's an elderly person in my situation, they'd have a very difficult time moving garbage containers in and out in rainy weather.
I'm very sorry, Doug. I'll make sure that our city manager gets Patty Hoke in contact with you. No one should have to go as long as you had to go to get your garbage picked up. I'm very sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other public comments at this time? Jerry Steiner, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Steiner. I live at 115 South 26th Street in the city of Battle Creek, and I'm coming to you this evening in a multitude of hats I'm wearing. This evening I'm wearing the hat of messenger. I was talking to some of the residents in Orchard Park about the upcoming election, and they informed me that they couldn't vote in the upcoming election. So, being the guy that I am, I asked why, and they told me something about redistricting and gerrymandering. Well, I got to come to the city commission because some of these people are your constituents, and they'd probably like to know why they weren't notified that they were the subject of redistricting and not being able to cast their vote legally here in Battle Creek. Many of them have worked here, paid taxes here, raised families here, but they're unable to vote. So I wasn't really familiar with the gerrymandering, so I had to look up the definition. I know all you commissioners know what the definition is. My concern is that if in fact the citizens of Orchard Park and I hear Rolling Hills are eliminated from the voting process here in Battle Creek, what has the City Commission done to alleviate that problem? Hey, I got to tell you, this political process has a lot of nuances that I'm not familiar with, but I'm trying to learn as I go along. And before I'm remiss, I'd like to thank everybody here for educating me on the Battle Creek political process. Although I'm still a little shaky on a few things, I'm learning every day. But I need your input because, hey, I'm at a loss as to why a large part of the population can't vote in the upcoming election. And we all know we're in a dark time now, so everyone needs to be able to cast their vote fair and equal. I've heard a lot from the City Commission about how they're concerned with their constituents. I think on this one, if the redistricting is true and gerrymandering is true, then you might have missed the boat on this one. I'm concerned about a few other things, but I'm not going to burden with you tonight because we're 3 weeks from the election, and I know a lot of you got plans you got to make in relationship to that. But I'd like you to consider my message tonight. And in closing, like I do always, I wish all of you well. Peace.
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. Appreciate that. I'm going to call upon our city manager to see if she can address the concern about Orchard Park and Rolling Hills or one of your staff members.
Yep, I think it would be better addressed by the city clerk.
So earlier this year, we did do some redistricting. It was basically our city charter requires that our 5 wards be balanced with residents within 10% of each other. So we did that. There were a couple other changes we made to better serve the voters. I believe in this one location, it involved Ward 1, precincts 4 and 10. And what we found over the many years was that precinct 4 had very few voters and very low voter turnout. And therefore, when voters would go to this one polling location, one part of the room was for precinct 4, the other was for precinct 10. The voters in precinct 4 would walk in and vote and walk out. The voters in precinct 10, meanwhile, because there were more voters registered in that precinct, they had very long lines to stand in. So we did move the lines, and we found out in August that the precincts are now very well balanced. They have about the same amount of turnout at each at each precinct, which means you don't see half of the residents walking in and voting and leaving very quickly while the others are still standing in line. So that was one of the changes we made. There were other very minor precinct changes. There was a change between precinct 18 and precinct 1. We just moved the line over by one street to better balance those 2 wards, which was Ward 3 and Ward 2. There was also a change in Ward 4 and Ward 5 to better balance the total residents in both wards, and it impacted only a few residents who had to change their polling locations.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Sure.
Thank you. So Vicki, just to make sure I'm clear in understanding, all voters still have the ability to vote within the city of Battle Creek, and that has not been removed from any residents?
Correct. Redistricting does not cancel anyone's voter registration. It simply may mean that they may vote at a different polling location, or they may still be in the very same polling location, but go to the other precinct that's within that same polling location. We do not cancel voter registrations simply through redistricting.
So, and I also concur, being that I've worked the precincts at 4 and 10, we were much more balanced this year. It was very nice to see that, and voters were very happy, and it was very easy to navigate. As a follow-up question, for those who might be listening or watching, and they don't know where they're supposed to vote or if they can vote, how do they reach out to your office to ensure that they can vote and have access to voting?
So there's a couple different ways. You're more than welcome to call our office or stop by our office. Our phone number is 966-3348. You're welcome to call. We can look up every registered voter in the city of Battle Creek or in the state of Michigan if you also do not know where you're supposed to go in your township or your city. You may also go to our website, which has a map of all of our wards, and that's a pretty quick way to look up your address and then figure that out. Or you can go to mi.gov/vote and put in your voter information, and it will tell you not only all of your registration information, where your polling location is, and you can also pull up a copy of your ballot for this upcoming election.
And just one more question. I just want to make sure this is very crystal clear to our residents. And your staff is working very hard and accessible and available if they would like to come down to City Hall to vote as well, correct? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.
Lynn Moore-Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I too wanted to just clarify the city boundaries at Coolidge, I believe it is, when it comes to switching from City of Battle Creek to Bedford Township. And oftentimes, folks who live in Orchard Park believe, because they have a Battle Creek address, that it's a City of Battle Creek voter, and that Orchard Park can be confusing sometimes. Some people define it differently as far as where it's located, either before Coolidge or after Coolidge, or south of Coolidge, should I say, north of Coolidge. And so that too sometimes creates confusion of not being able to vote in a city election because they're technically Bedford Township employees, Bedford Township residents. So I just wanted to clarify
That- You were just making a statement. You weren't asking a question then, right?
No, I just wanted to clarify that, making a statement.
Okay, thank you. Any other commission comments at this time? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned then.
Wait, public.
Well, no, we still have public comment. That was
Public.
a response to a public comment.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we're still on public comment, I'm sorry. Are there any other public comments? John?
John Kenefick, 234 South Avenue. On July 5th, as Ms. Morris was entering the building, I handed her an envelope with 3 documents from the county clerk's office. When I came up here, I watched her very carefully and saw her hand that same envelope to a high-end official of the government of Battle Creek. On October 9th, at the NAACP meeting, I asked her if she understood the documents in hand. She said the city attorney explained to her, but she didn't quite understand what was going on in those documents. I'm going to explain this to the citizens of Battle Creek and Ms. Morris right now. On, December 5th, 1992, and if you want to look this up at the county clerk's office, you may, look under Liber 1657, page 519. This is the first document. It's where the arm of a government of Battle Creek, which is Serial City Development Corporation, purchased John Godfrey's building, John Godfrey Jewelers Building, downtown Battle Creek, for $150,000. Now, on the 11th of December 1992, Liber 1657, page 522, Serial City Development Corporation sells the building back to John Godfrey of Godfrey Jewelers for, under the laws of Michigan, approximately $1 or maybe a little bit more. Now, they're not just giving it back to him, he has conditions. And one of the conditions is Liber 1657, page 525. And by the way, all these documents were put into county clerk's office on December 17th, 1992, 6 days later. And the other document of 1657, 525 says that if John Coffey fails to take care of his pending bankruptcy, the whole property reverts back to Serial City Development Corporation. Many years go by, like a pawn piece ready to be put on the playing board. John Godfrey becomes a commissioner, and some years after that, he and the rest of the commission vote $2.1 million for the rehabilitation of the Kellogg Arena, which is operated by Serial City Development Corporation. Years later after that, they also spend $500,000 from the public treasury to fix the roof on the Kellogg Arena, paid for at taxpayer expense. Now, what this has to do with anything, basically, is I look at commissioners and where they get their money from, if there are ponds being put in place. And yes, I do see that. So just look carefully at how people get paid and see if they're put in there to do a government agenda. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments at this time? Any other public comments? Yes, Sam Gray.
Good evening. Sam Gray, 245 Irving Park Drive. Just want to, I could have talked to him after this meeting, but he said he was at an NAACP meeting. I attend those. I'm the first vice president. I don't recall any of that information that he's talking about. So whatever that is, if he will talk to me, which I don't know if he will or not, but it's okay. Also, on a good note, in November, we're doing a veteran dinner at our post 257 for our veterans. So I wanted to just pass that along to the residents or to our veterans. And also the NAACP is doing this annual Freedom Fund banquet on October 28th. It's from 5 to when it ends, say roughly about 8 o'clock, 8:30. And so you guys are all invited, public is invited. It's going to be at the Burma Center on Friday, October 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Steve? No? Okay. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? If not, commission comments. Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one. As I listen this evening to the proclamations that are read, the first about intimate partner violence and domestic violence, and the second about lung cancer, I'd be remiss if I didn't share, as a Master Certified Trainer in the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, the connection between the two and how critically important it is that we take care of the youngest in our community. When we can minimize exposure to adversity for children, they are less likely to experience things that will impact their health long term. I grew up in a household where there was significant abuse. My mother died of lung cancer when she was 60. And it hits home personally, but it's also something that we see every single day around our community. Dr. Gabor Mate, who is a world-famous pediatrician, says when he gets asked what we can do to improve our world, he says, do good by the children. And so for each of us who have the ability to do that, who can actually really reach out and support each other, those of us who have children who do not, let's just make sure we're all there for each other. We lost 2 people in our community this past week. Thank you. And I just want to, without saying their names, lift them up and just say that we can do better by each other. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes. Commissioner Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. It is indeed a sad time for our community, the loss of these two individuals who were a big part of our community. I wanted to just lift up for a moment. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure my notes are right on this. I'll just pause for now and just say this. First, welcome back to the city manager. And two, to thank the assistant city manager for your leadership. Appreciate the time that you were leading us. And I did want to call on the city attorney to just clarify what our charter says around the election of mayor from a conversation we had earlier, if you could.
Sure. Our charter, so the Home Rule City Act, which is what governs our city, provides certain things that must be in charters. And Section 3 of the Home Rule City Act says that every city charter has to provide for the election of a mayor. It also says the city charter may provide for the selection of the mayor by the legislative body. So for many years, the city of Battle Creek's charter provided that the mayor would be selected by the city commission, would be elected by the city commission. That was changed effective 2020, so that the charter was changed to say the mayor would be elected by the voters at large. And so regardless of which way the charter provides for the election of the mayor, each mayor is just as duly legally elected, whether it's by the city commission or by the voters at large, so long as it's consistent with the charter. And I had back when we did the Blue Ribbon Commission, I went through 163 municipalities, cities in the state of Michigan, and 37 of them elect their mayor by the body, by the legislative body. So the mayors that we've had in the past that were elected by the city commission are no less historical or worthy than those elected by the voters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Commissioner? Any other commission comments at this time? Commissioner Bonica Herring.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to let it be known that October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. That month was declared in 1988 by the United States Congress for the month of October to raise awareness of the employment needs and contributions of individuals with all types of disabilities. And I'd like to remind everyone that disabilities are not always visible, and please be respectful of those around you and other human beings. Thank you.
Any other commission comments? Commissioner Blood.
Thank you, sir. So I've said it once this evening, I'll say it again. I only get to sit here for another month, and I want to speak to you, Miss Morris. You are a brave young lady, and you, when your peers are at home on a Tuesday night, and when your peers are at home during events, you are out in this community, and you are out getting to know people. You are dedicated to this city. You have proven that time and time again. It's been an honor to sit with you on this commission. It's been an honor to sit with you in other committees. And your employer may change, which we know it has. However, your commitment to the city has not. And I'm just going to let it be known, I don't care where you're employed. I care of how you are dedicated to this city, how you listen to constituents, and you vote accordingly. That's what we need on this commission, and that is what I support. And I am thankful that you are here, and I hope that when you continue to be here, it goes just as well for you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Are there any other commission comments at this time? Well, thank you very much for attending our meeting. I'm a half hour beyond our prediction. So, good evening. Meeting's adjourned.